Are you voting for some third-party candidate like the Green Party?
I'm gonna vote for Derek White. Why would you trust someone like Rudy
Your biggest
Giuliani
concern
over
have to do with the election?
Why would you
Are you
trust
dumb?
someone like Rudy Giuliani over the Attorney General?
Oh my god, this is hilarious.
Oh my god, that's not a stupid question. Why?
No, it
why
is a
would you
stupid
trust
question
someone
because the
like
fact
Rudy
that you're
Giuliani
worried
over the
about
Attorney
how
General?
to make America better.
Calling me brainwashed, but you haven't been able to address anything I've said.
We
Not
just
a
addressed
single
this
thing.
for like 30 minutes. Holy shit.
Yeah, you've addressed it by saying, why are we talking about this? This was like 4 years ago.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, you had a question?
Yeah. My question is, are you familiar with Trump trying to pressure the DOJ to send false election fraud things to Georgia?
I'm familiar with that claim, yes.
How do you justify that?
How do I justify that? There really is no way to justify that, because that does go against the tradition of our election, giving people to speak their mind. But at the same time, I understand why Trump was hesitant. I understand that election took place during a very weird time with a lot of mail-in ballots and a lot of ballots that were delayed for months at a time, many months. So I understand why he was hesitant, but I don't support that Georgia document thing. I also don't know that it happened to the extent that Democrats claim that he was, trying to overturn the election with that. But I think he was trying to genuinely see and get more votes on his side.
Well, let me be clear with what happened, because I've listened to the testimony of Rosen and Donahue and everything. So what happened was Jeffrey Clark was a very low-level employee of the DOJ, and Trump talked to him about election fraud claims, which was inappropriate. You're not only the AG and the acting AG, or in the deputy AG should have contact with the president. He talked to somebody who he shouldn't have been talking to about election fraud claims, and then threatened to fire Rosen and install Clark because Rosen and Donahue refused to send a document claiming that Georgia's election was stolen, even though they had told him multiple times that there was no evidence that the DOJ had found of Georgia's election being stolen.
Okay, yeah, but you have to understand that comment goes both ways. There was no, proof that Georgia's election was stolen. There's no proof that Georgia's election was not stolen. That's something that we are never going to know the downright facts of. But yeah, you're right. I mean, what can I say?
You can't claim that there's no evidence right now that I'm not a unicorn. But we know I'm not a unicorn because there's no reason to believe that I am a unicorn.
Well, yes,
there's no reason to believe that the election
that's
was stolen if there's no proof to indicate that.
But that's a terrible example. Obviously, we're Homo sapiens. We're not going to call you a unicorn and think that you're about to grow a tail. It's much more plausible to say that the election during a time like we've never seen before, during a global pandemic, could have been stolen in a voting format that we've never seen before. That's a much more plausible claim than saying you're a unicorn, a fictitious creature.
Well, what I'm getting at with that is that saying, oh, well, you can't claim or you can't prove that the election wasn't stolen. You're asking someone to prove a negative. That's a logical fallacy. You're setting a bar that could literally never logically be achieved.
Okay, well, I disagree with the fact that it could never logically be achieved. Who knows if there will be information that comes out one day that will say it was stolen. We don't know what's going to happen on that front. And I do respect Trump's right to question the election. Do I support the Georgia thing to that extent? No, and I think he should honestly move away from talking about that now. I know he's not because the MAGA supporters eat that up. I'm not a MAGA supporter. I just believe in his strong policy. So we'll see what happens and if he does continue to preach that. But at the end of the day, we're never going to really know, in my opinion, if it was stolen, or at least not for quite some time.
Do you think it's fair to say that all of the people in the DOJ, including Bill Barr and Rosen and Donahue, told him that it wasn't stolen, and that he filed 62 lawsuits, 30 of which were heard on evidentiary grounds, and all of them came back that there was no widespread voter fraud? And Mike Pence himself told him that there was no voter fraud, and Ivanka Trump, his own daughter, told him that there was no voter fraud. All of the people around him told him that there was no voter fraud. Do you think it's fair to say that he probably had the tools to come to the reasonable conclusion that there was no voter fraud?
That's an interesting question. You're asking me if I think that Trump had the tools to logically conclude in his mind that there was no voter fraud. I'm honestly not sure, because at the same time, there were lawyers and other people in his cabinet that were telling him, yes, man, this election was stolen. So there's people from both sides that you didn't bring up there preaching to him
Well,
different ideas.
to
But
be
in his
clear,
mind, I think, yes, no, I'm getting to that point. In your mind, you always, have to strive to prove that thing, right? How can I prove that this election was stolen? So could he still believe it? Sure. But I think deep down in his mind, he's probably saying, this is not stolen until I can prove it. And he's tried to get so many different resources and get into different things to try and find that, and it has not happened yet. That's what I'll say to that.
So the difference is that the people that were telling him that it wasn't stolen were the people within his intelligence agencies and all of the people that have the ability to tell him that it wasn't fraudulent because they know and they were actively dealing with the election. And the people that told him that it wasn't stolen were people that he actively sought out, like Rudy Giuliani or John Eastman, who are now like losing their John Eastman was literally disbarred because of his plot to overturn the election. Like, all of the people that he was looking for that were telling him that the election was stolen were more or less conmen, and the people that were telling him that it wasn't stolen were top officials in the DOJ and people that he would end up firing.
Why is your biggest concern on why he questioned if the election was rigged? Why is that your biggest concern? That's honestly so ridiculous and embarrassing.
I don't care necessarily that he was questioning if the election was rigged. I care
Then
that
why
he
are
was
we talking
trying to.
about this?
Well, I'll let you know, because he was making active efforts to, when all of the people around him were telling him that it wasn't rigged, he was making active efforts to overturn the result of the election.
Well, what about other people telling him it was rigged?
They had no credentials to do so.
Oh, okay. So
why
tell
would
me
you rather listen to Rudy Giuliani than Bill Barr?
If we're talking about this, and you're voting for Kamala clearly, because I can just tell already on that side, why don't you tell me 6 of Kamala's policies you like?
Why are you sidestepping the questions I'm asking?
What questions?
Why would you trust someone like Rudy Giuliani? Why
your biggest concern have to do with the election?
Why would you trust someone like Rudy Giuliani over the Attorney General?
Oh my God, this is hilarious.
Oh my God, that's such a stupid question. Why?
No, it
why
is a stupid question because the fact that you're worried about how.
Hold on, I just want to mute you guys for just 1 second to respond to something. Rinyald, I think what you were saying is we've been on this topic for quite a while, and you're kind of just using one method to attack Donald Trump and kind of ignoring all the good that his policies would do for America, because you haven't attacked a single one of his policies yet. That's a valid point that user made. At the same time, yes, you're getting at that thing that, Trump tried to falsify the election. I think that's the kind of point you're getting at. Yes, I don't agree with that. And I even said that I think that he's gone too far with his efforts to falsify it. At the same time, part of me believes that this was a very fishy election that very well could be stolen. But we have no proof on either side to justify that. And why I do trust Donald Trump is because he has a great record policy-wise. And I think that he's going to do a lot of good for the American public. And I will now unmute both of you so you could say whatever you want to that and continue your discussion too, because it was entertaining.
Are we ready to move on from the election thing yet, or are we still want to argue about that?
Let me answer why I think it's such a big deal. So I think that the most important thing about, and what makes America so amazing, is that every 4 years we can commit to a peaceful transfer of power. And Donald Trump did literally everything within his power to subvert that peaceful transfer of power. What I think is the most important thing about what built this country, separating us from having kings in England, is having a democracy, having a peaceful transition of power, and Trump tried to subvert it at every step. So
if I could respond to that, I guess.
It's like one of the biggest issues.
Would you say, you said that he did not, engage in a peaceful transfer of power. I think that, was it not like a sit down, say, okay, I'm accepting this result? Of course not. It's something like we've never seen before. But if you're alluding to the fact that what those people did, the unspeakable things like assaulting officers and what happened at the Capitol, that I don't agree was on him. And like I keep saying, he has the right to question and the right to put forth his beliefs that he won the election.
So are you aware that he tried to pressure his vice president to decertify electors?
Mike Pence, yeah, he told him to not count the ballots.
He told him to not count certified electors from the states.
Yeah, I'm aware.
So that is literally an effort to subvert the transfer of power.
Okay, well, before you said, yes, I'm not saying that he wasn't trying to prevent Biden from gaining power, But
It's
what I
not
am
preventing
saying,
Biden from gaining power. It's preventing the people from voting him out of office.
okay. But the legitimate claim there is, first of all, he didn't believe that the people voted him out of office for rightful gripes, rightful reasons there. Like I'm saying, he has
They
the
were
right to
not.
question that. And the second thing that I lost my train of thought. You said before that, oh, the peaceful aspect. Because you said he prevented the peaceful transfer of power, which I completely disagree with. I think that he was within his rights. Everything he did was in a demonstrative way, but not in a violent way.
So when I say peaceful transfer of power, I'm not necessarily focusing on the peaceful aspect of it, because we can argue whether or not he played a part in January 6th. I think he did, but it's completely irrelevant to the fact that when I say peaceful transfer of power, I'm simply referring to the thing that whenever you lose an election, you concede the election and you give it up to the next person. Hillary Clinton did that. Joe Biden handed the reins to Harris. If she loses, I almost guarantee you that she's going to concede to Donald Trump. Donald Trump's one of the only presidents in modern history that hasn't done that, that never did that. He's still claiming that the 2020 election was rigged, even after all 63 of his cases went to court and all of them came back with big goose eggs for him. Even after all of his attorney generals told him that it wasn't stolen, even after state legislatures told him that it wasn't stolen, even after he was indicted for the scheme of pressuring state legislatures to certify his fraudulently assembled electors.
Can I ask you a question? I wanted you to tell me the rhyme or reason. Why do you think Trump went to these lengths?
Because he can't accept that he has ever lost. Because he claimed the same thing about the 2016. He claimed the 2016 election was rigged against him too. If you look at the Republican primaries, he said that they were rigging it in favor of Ted Cruz. If you look at, he said that he actually won the popular vote and not Hillary Clinton. He said because 3 million people voted illegally. There was also no evidence for that. I don't think it's that 2020 was an exceptional election. I think Trump just can't lose. And he's already on this campaign trail said that he won't necessarily commit to accepting the results of this election.
Well, you are correct in saying he never gave an answer, I believe, when pressed, if he was going to accept the results. So, yeah, he never said he's going to accept the results of this election.
So all 3 elections he's been a part of, he said that he would not accept the results. And in 2 of them, he actively refused to accept the results.
Yeah, but I think,
How
first of all, I
in two
don't
of
believe that
them?
the 2016
In
one
two
was...
of them?
Huh?
How did he refuse to accept the results in 2 of them when he won one of them?
Because he said that he actually won the popular vote in 2016, even though he didn't, by claiming that 3 million people voted illegally, and he claimed that the Republican primaries were rigged against him, even though they weren't.
But let me just say, you're saying, no,
Oh,
they
he
weren't.
made
You
a
cannot
claim. Oh my
prove
god, he's such
your
a
claims
bad
either.
person.
Your claims
Yeah,
hold
for
just as much
undermining every
weightlessness as
single
Trump's
election
claims.
he's been a part of, yes.
Oh, let's vote for Kamala. Tell me her policies you like. I'll wait.
So you're just justifying an
No,
attempted
because you keep
insurrection
avoiding this
because
question. You
you don't
keep
like
avoiding this question. The only thing you can attack Trump is on the fucking
I
election. How
haven't
about you
even,
answer?
I haven't even
No.
brought up who I'm voting
Hey,
for.
boy,
You don't even know
boy,
who I'm
I'm
voting
talking.
for. I'm
Your-
just trying
your-
to ask a question
Your
about
bio
this
says
specific
Kamala
thing.
Harris. Your bio says Kamala
And your
Harris. Thank
It
you.
pictures
also
of
says
J.D.
Eric
Vance.
White. It's a
in a
joke.
very-
It's a joke bio.
So tell me why you're voting for Kamala.
You don't even know that I'm voting for Kamala. I just
So
want
who
to
are you
focus on
voting
this
for,
one thing.
Who are you voting for?
Why are you pivoting?
Who are you voting for?
Why are you
If you're not
pivoting?
voting for Kamala and
Are
you're
you afraid
bashing
to
Trump,
answer my questions?
dude, you keep repeating yourself. Like you're just fucking yapping
Because-
about an
because the
election
reason I keep
that
repeating
happened
myself is
4
because no one's
fucking years
answering.
ago. Grow up. What are you, 12?
Yeah,
At least I-
Reynold, we're moving on from this subject. I've given you my opinions to at least 7 or 8 different pivots that you've done inside of this thing that Trump rigged the election. So move on to something else. Or
I
how
don't
about
think
life?
I've pivoted once. I came up here explicitly to ask about this. I didn't even say who I was voting
No,
for.
you have continuously pivoted inside of the same subject to try
What
and
did I
use this
pivot
one
from?
attacking point at Donald Trump. Move on to
I
another
asked you
topic. or
what
exit the
Kamala
line.
Harris's policies. You're like, no, you just
That was a
fucking
pivot
go back
from
to
what
the
I was
election.
talking about. What did I pivot
Because
about?
we're
What
all
question
sick
did I
of talking
evade?
about the election. You've been yapping for fucking
You're
20
sick of
minutes
talking
about this.
the
Just
election
shut up.
because you know that it was an
No,
illegitimate
because
attempt
you're
to
fucking
overturn it.
annoying. It is
You're
because
tired
you're
of talking
annoying.
about the election because
You
it's
are a brainwashed
injustifiable.
Democrat.
You don't want to talk about the election because it's injustifiable, and every Republican has to do whatever. Well, then, do you disagree that you've been defending Donald Trump in this conversation? Do you disagree that you've been defending Donald Trump in this conversation?
Do you agree that you've been attacking him? So therefore you're voting
Yes.
for Kamala.
No, not necessarily.
Then who are you
Larry,
voting
are
for?
you voting for some third-party candidate like the Green Party?
I'm gonna vote for Derek White. So,
Oh God, I hate Boston.
Wasted vote.
but all I'm concerned about is this one specific thing. I don't know what I've pivoted from. I feel like I've addressed every single thing that you've brought up fairly accurately. If I haven't, then bring it up again. I just want to know why people feel comfortable like sidestepping this attempt to overturn our election fraudulently.
Because this man knows how to run this country, unlike the people in office now.
Do you think it would be okay? So if Trump said that he should get a redo of his 4 years because the Obama administration was spying on him in 2016, do you think it would be okay because he just like ran the country well?
Does he have a redo of 4 years? No.
Well, I'm saying, is it okay to subvert our
Did it
institutions
happen? Did
because
it
he was
happen? Yes
the
or no?
president?
Did it happen? Did it happen? Yes or no?
I said I was giving you a hypothetical.
No,
But
but
what I
did
was-
it
what I
happen?
was-
Did
no,
did
but
it happen?
Necessarily,
If it didn't happen, then it's
didn't
so
happen.
beyond irrelevant.
Okay, I'll just ask you the question then. Ignore that. Do you think it's okay to subvert our institutions because you were a good president?
I think it's okay to question the election.
Not question the election, pressure your DOJ to send a fraudulent letter that you knew was fraudulent. Or pressure your vice president to unilaterally certify and decertify electors. Do you think that's
Pressure.
okay? Yes.
Pressure, as in have conversations, bring it up,
as
be
in
concerned.
tweet out while people were in the Capitol that Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what was necessary to save our Constitution. That kind of pressure.
That, like I said, why are we still talking about this? I said it's okay to question
It's
the
because
election.
every time I bring up something you don't know how to address, you always just pivot away from it. It's like, oh, I don't know why we're talking about that. Why do you feel it's why do you justify Donald Trump?
I just told you
pressuring
I
his
believe
vice
it's okay to
president?
question the election.
Not question the election, pressure his vice president to certify and decertify electors
Question
unilaterally.
election. That is correct. Yep.
not
Questioning
questioning.
the elect. Yes, it is questioning. Yep.
Is it questioning the election to overturn it?
Yeah. You can question something to overturn it. That is correct. That
Do you
is how
think it would
something
be okay
is
for him to
overturned. Is you
overturn the
question it.
election?
What?
Do you think it would be okay for him to overturn the election?
If it was rigged, yeah.
Do you agree that there's no evidence of rigging?
No, I disagree.
Do you agree that multiple people within his DOJ and a bunch of state legislatures and every lawsuit he filed all came back saying that there was no fraud?
I'm sorry. Repeat that.
Are you aware that every lawsuit he filed came back big fat goose eggs, no fraud? Top officials within his DOJ came to him and said there was no fraud. Mike Pence,
Okay,
his
that's
own vice
probably why
president,
he.
came back and
That's
said there
probably
was no
why the
fraud.
question. Or
His daughter
probably-
came out and said there was no fraud.
I'd like to see that. Can you show me where she said that, please?
Yeah, she testified for the J6 committee that she agreed with Bill Barr's findings that there was no fraud.
Okay, is he in office now? No.
Donald Trump or Bill Barr?
Donald Trump. Who are we talking about right now?
Why does it matter if he's in office right now?
Because he accepted the results eventually, did he not?
No, I wouldn't say that he accepted the results if he did everything he could to overturn it.
Oh my God, can we just agree to disagree? This is ridiculous.
No, because you're justifying an insurrection
No,
right now.
because I'm not going to fucking argue with you for
With me about it is because you don't know anything about it.
the reason I'm not arguing with you is because I'm not a brainwashed liberal who wants to sit here and argue. I'm trying to make America
you're
better.
calling me brainwashed, but you haven't been able to address anything I've said.
We
Not a
just
single
addressed this
thing.
for like 30 minutes. Holy shit.
Yeah, you've addressed it by saying, why are we talking about this? This was like 4 years ago. Like,
That
that's
is
not
correct.
addressing it.
Yeah, 4 years ago. That's some good math. I'm proud of you.
That's not addressing it. That's pivoting.
All right. Yep, you're right. Yep, you win. Can we shut up and move on now?
As long as you
Is that what you wanted to hear to
as long
move
as
on?
you accept the fact that you're voting for an insurrectionist.
Yep. I never said who I was voting for, though. So now what?
Or you're playing defense
Yep.
for a guy who
Yep.
led an insurrection.
Yep.
Okay, that's fine.
So who are you voting for?
Derek White.
Because why?
He's a really good basketball player. Listen,
I don't
if
think he's
1v1
tall enough to lead
Donald
the
Trump and
country.
Derek White
Enough to lead
Donald
the
Trump and
country.
Derek White wins.
He's not tall enough to lead this country.
is Derek White smaller than Donald Trump?
Well, he's barely 6 feet, right?
I don't know.
Sorry I had to listen to that for so long. I'm so tired.
No, you're good, man.
I'm strong for perfection. And
Have a
I'm
good
a
one.
piano player.
Have a good day.
No, it was really good though. I think it was.
Well, that
God.